Well, our top story, it is D-Day for the UK Prime Minister Theresa May. The British Parliament is set to vote on her Brexit deal today, and May has urged lawmakers to back her deal, saying that rejection of Brexit agreement would amount to subversion of democracy. Listen in.
And if rather than leaving with no deal, this House blocked Brexit, that would be a subversion of our democracy, saying to the people we were elected to serve that we were unwilling to do what they had instructed. So I say to members on all sides of this House, whatever you may have previously concluded, over these next 24 hours, give this deal a second look.
And earlier, the opposition had warned Theresa May of a general election if her deal is rejected by the House of Commons. In a heated debate in Parliament, leader of the opposition and Labour lawmaker Jeremy Corbyn accused Theresa May of making zero efforts to work with Parliament. Jeremy Corbyn also said that the Brexit deadlock was leading the country towards a snap poll.
It's clear what we are voting on this week is exactly the same deal we should have voted on in December. I'm sure the Prime Minister knows this. That is why today she's trying to blame others for this chaos. Given the lack of support for the Prime Minister's deal, you might have thought she would try to reach out to MPs. Instead, the Prime Minister is claiming that by failing to support her botched deal, members are threatening to undermine the faith of the British people in our democracy. Mr. Speaker, the only people who are undermining faith in our democracy is the government itself. It's clear, if the Prime Minister's deal is rejected tomorrow, it's time for a general election. It's time for a new government.
And different voices are emerging from within the government, with some members of the Conservative Party backing their leader's deal, while others are opposed to the idea.
Minister, is the Prime Minister's deal heading for defeat?
Certainly hope not, no.
If it is defeated, will the Prime Minister resign?
I certainly hope not, no. She's the right Prime Minister, and I hope the deal gets through. That's the most important thing today.
Are you worried we're heading for a no deal?
Yes, I am against no deal. I am for the Prime Minister, and I am for the withdrawal agreement today. And as the Daily Mail editorial said today, we need to put our country first.
I think the Prime Minister will make her case this evening to all my colleagues with force and eloquence, and I think there's no question of the Prime Minister resigning. The Parliamentary Party voted that they had confidence in her last year. I believe the Prime Minister is doing the right thing. I believe she should continue to lead the party in the country.
Against the withdrawal agreement because it keeps us potentially in a customs union without an end date, divides up the United Kingdom between Northern Ireland and Great Britain, and pays $39 billion for nothing in return. The people voted to leave. They didn't vote for a deal, they voted to leave. And this deal doesn't actually make us leave cleanly.
And we're joining us to talk a little bit more about this, Mandy Clark, who joins us now from London, and also Kevin Ospick, who is joining us now from, Brussels as well. And thanks very both for joining us with that. Now, Mandy, first to you. Now, what are the options now for Theresa May? She has been yielding carrots and sticks both for, the opposition and her own party. But what really happens, because all predictions are suggesting she's going to lose that vote?
Yeah, in all likelihood, she will lose the vote. They just simply do not have enough MPs to back the deal. That has been clear for a long time. Now, there was this one amendment that was in the offing. It's been withdrawn, but that amendment could have forced a no deal not from happening, which would have ended essentially the possibility of Brexit. That has been withdrawn. So there's been lots of chopping and changing. All we can expect now is there will be a vote on her deal. It doesn't look like she's going to pass. The Speaker of the House of Commons says she has to come back with a new solution in 3 days' time, that she can't just let it run out to a no-deal scenario. Now, will there be a general election, as Jeremy Corbyn is calling? That seems unlikely, and it is a distraction because Jeremy Corbyn himself supports Brexit, doesn't support a second vote. And the second vote, a second referendum, wouldn't necessarily mean that the voting intentions has changed and people would now support remaining. So that is a distraction. What happens now is the vote. In all likelihood, she'll lose and she'll have to come up with a new solution.
Right, Mandy, stay with us. Also with us from Brussels is Jack Parrick. Forgive me, Jack, earlier on for mistaking you for Kevin. Now, Jack, well, the European Union, of course, has come up with some sort of assurances, but are they enough for Theresa May and her government?
Well, that's what we'll have to see. Firstly, it's a compliment to mistake me for my esteemed friend and colleague Kevin Ozebek. But here in Brussels, what they've done essentially is release this letter to try and give Theresa May some sort of assurances, to try and show that this Irish backstop issue, this insurance policy that means that there will be no hard border on the border of Ireland, but on the island of Ireland, that will not happen in the case that there is no trade deal agreed between the European Union and the UK after the end of the transition period, which is in place as part of this withdrawal agreement. Now, they have tried their best to show that there is some assurances, to show that the European Union does not want that backstop in place. But what they write here is, we're not in a position to agree anything that changes or is inconsistent with the withdrawal agreement. As far as they've gone, they feel like they've gone as far as they can. They've said repeatedly that the deal that's on the table is the only one available.
Right. So there are many red lines there from the European Union, certainly. And Mandy, very quickly then, you know, we are hearing that stock markets are piling up, also supermarkets are piling up stocks, well, and the stock markets are not been doing very well, also going up and down with what happens with the Brexit deal. So just run us through all of that.
Yeah, so what Britain has failed to do properly is really prepare for a no-deal scenario, and we are heading further and further into that territory. Really, we've got 2 months to go before that, so we are seeing stockpiling of food, stockpiling of vital medicines. The health minister says he is the purchaser of the largest fridges in the country because of this need for to be prepared for a no-deal situation. And, of course, business hates volatility, and there has been so much instability. We are seeing the stock markets all over the place. If the New Deal situation goes ahead, we can expect more volatility, because it certainly it's going to be a bumpy road ahead. And a lot of businesses, even the government, really haven't put a lot of practical solutions in place for that no-deal scenario. And we're seeing that preparation, but it's a bit late now with just 2 months to go.
Well, absolutely, Mandy and Jack Parrick, thanks very much indeed both for joining us with the latest there. We are counting down, in fact, to that Brexit deal. Thanks both for joining us. And in a move that could well further escalate United States and Canada and their tensions, well, a Chinese court has sentenced a Canadian man to death for smuggling drugs. After the death sentence, Canada has warned its citizens about the risk of arbitrary enforcement of local laws in China. The Chinese court retried Robert Lloyd, who had appealed his original 15-year prison sentence and decided on his execution. The court said that Lloyd had conspired with others in an attempt to smuggle 222 kilograms of banned drugs from China to Australia in late 2014. He was arrested in December that year. The Canadian has argued in court that he was a tourist visiting China and was being framed by criminals. Meanwhile, the move has angered Canada, with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accusing China of arbitrarily using death penalty. The court's ruling and Trudeau's reaction could aggravate already sour relations between China and Canada following the arrest of Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou in Canada and China's subsequent detention of 2 Canadians.
As a government, we actually strengthened the policy that requires the Canadian government to always intercede on behalf of a Canadian facing the death penalty anywhere in the world. We will continue to do that, as we have in this case. But I will say it is of extreme concern to us as a government, as it should be to all our international friends and allies, that China has chosen to begin to arbitrarily apply death penalty in cases facing, as in this case, facing a Canadian.
And Patrick Falk is joining us now from Hong Kong. And Patrick, now what more details can you give us about the trial and the justification for this death sentence?
Well, Robert Lloyd Schellenberg was detained in 2015 and was convicted last year for attempting to smuggle more than 200 kilograms of methamphetamine into Australia. And for that, he received a sentence of 15 years in jail and a fine of $22,000. Now, he appealed against that verdict. And over the course of that appeal, prosecutors say that new evidence emerged, new evidence involving a witness by the name of Sue Ching, who we are told was Schellenberg's translator. Now, details of that new evidence are slightly unclear, but the suggestion is that Schellenberg may have been involved in a wider drug trafficking ring. Reports say that there were 70 observers present at the retrial on Monday, observers including many foreign journalists. And we are told that the whole trial happened very quickly and the sentencing took just about 20 minutes. We're also told that Sue Ching didn't look Schellenberg in the eye at all over the course of the proceedings and wasn't able to recall a lot of the details of this new evidence and had to refer to a written statement. Now, according to the Chinese, the new evidence justifies the harsher sentencing. Under Chinese law, any appeal cannot increase any punishment, but because of the new evidence, it is allowed to do so. But according to Schellenberg's lawyer, there was never enough evidence to convict him in the first place, and this new evidence should never have been admitted either.
Right, Patrick, and to what extent, well, it is fair to say that this case has been caught up, this man has been caught in a diplomatic tussle between China and Canada over that arrest of the Huawei CFO?
Well, look, the Canadians are very clearly connecting the two cases. We heard a moment ago Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying that he would personally intercede in the matter. And Canada has also warned Canadians that China is arbitrarily detaining citizens, and, or rather that it's arbitrarily handing out a death sentence here to Schellenberg. And in a new twist, Canada has also warned Chinese citizens now that Chinese citizens may be arbitrarily detained by the Canadians. Now, analysts say that if indeed the Chinese are connecting the two cases, it's sending a message to Canada that it is deadly serious about wanting Canada to release Meng Wanzhou. But this is looking like the relationship between the two countries is going to take a turn for the worse, and this is possibly bad news for Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig, the two other Canadians that are being held by China at this moment. Another thing that is worth taking into account, though, that this isn't exactly new. China does have laws that may involve executing people for drug trafficking crimes.
All right, Patrick, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the latest there on that standoff between the US and China. In other news, guess who is feeling the heat of the US shutdown now? Well, it's none other than the White House itself, which is at the center of the shutdown debate in the US. Staff crunch has worsened so much that President Donald Trump was forced to order burgers, pizzas and, well, French fries for his guests.
What do you do when mom and dad are not around to cook and you have unexpected guests? Well, you order. That's exactly what US President Donald Trump did when guests came calling at the White House. And guess what? He paid for it too.
We have pizzas, we have 300 hamburgers, many French fries, all of our favorite foods. I want to see what's here when we leave, because I don't think it's going to be much. The reason we did this is because of the shutdown. We want to make sure that everything is right. So we sent out, we got this, and we have some wonderful people working at the White House. They helped us out with this.
Normally, the White House chefs would have served a much fancier platter in the state dining room. But this time, the silverware was full of great American soul food thanks to the staff crunch at the White House due to a partial US government shutdown. In fact, had it not been for the great American fast food giants, Trump was all set to get the First Lady to cook up a storm in the White House kitchen.
And so I had a choice. Do we have no food for you because we have a shutdown? Or do we give you some little quick salads that the First Lady will make along with the Second Lady. They'll make some salads. And I said, you guys aren't into salads. Or do I go out, Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott, do I go out and send out for about 1,000 hamburgers, Big Macs? So we actually did. We bought 1,000. Burger King, all American companies. Burger King, Wendy's, and McDonald's. We have Big Macs, we have Quarter Pounders with cheese, we have everything that I like, that you like. And I know no matter what we did, there's nothing you can have that's better than that, right?
The feast, though, turned out to be a happy one for the visiting Clemson Tigers, winners of the US College Football Championship. They binged on their favorite food. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Well, the embattled French President Emmanuel Macron has kicked off a 3-month-long national debate in a bid to quell the Yellow Vest protests. In a lengthy letter to the French nation, the president has asked French citizens for their opinion on government policies. His initiative comes after anti-government Yellow Vest protests regained momentum. Last weekend's protests witnessed a turnout, an increase in turnout, a substantial one at that.
D'abord que ceci nous met dans une situation démocratique inédite. C'est inédit d'avoir un débat de ce type à l'échelle nationale et à l'échelle mondiale. Je n'ai pas d'exemple comparable. Donc c'est une occasion à saisir pour sortir vers le haut de la crise que nous venons de traverser. Donc c'est d'abord et avant tout cela qu'il faut retenir. Et d'ailleurs je vois avec satisfaction que les républicains ou les socialistes ou même les communistes ont réagi constructivement à cette proposition.
But Macron has not yet agreed to accept the demand of the Yellow Vest protesters. The French president has said that he will roll out pro-business economic reforms such as scrapping a wealth tax. Even as the government plans to provide tax relief to the rich, the French finance minister has asked people to agree on public spending cuts if they want lower tax rates.
Donc il est légitime que les Français se prononcent là-dessus et je les appelle à se prononcer en masse. Quelles dépenses publiques êtes-vous prêts à diminuer pour que nous puissions baisser vos impôts? Voilà la question fondamentale qui a été posée par le président de la République et à laquelle je souhaite que le maximum de Français puissent répondre.
Well, lots of protests happening across Europe and other places as well. And teachers in the Greek capital of Athens clashed with police for a second time this week. The clashes happened during rallies organized to protest the government's draft law on public sector hiring. The violence broke out when protesting teachers who are on a 24-hour strike attempted to break a police cordon next to the parliament building. Some demonstrators even hurled stones. Police responded using tear gas to disband protesters. More than 3,000 teachers in Greece are concerned over job security. They marched to the parliament building, banging drums and chanting, "We are the only opposition." And while teachers say that schools in the country are understaffed and are demanding the creation of additional permanent positions, they argue that an education ministry bill currently under public consultation is unfair to those with years of experience. Greece froze hirings in the public sector during the years of its economic crisis that began in late 2009.
Με το ότι θέλουμε τα πτυχία τα οποία παίρνουμε από τα πανεπιστήμια να έχουν την αξία τους. Το νομοσχέδιο που περνάει η κυβέρνηση ουσιαστικά υποβαθμίζει την αξία των πανεπιστημίων, βάζοντας άλλα κριτήρια, άσχετα με τα επιστημονικά κριτήρια, προκειμένου να κάνει μικροπολιτική.
Meanwhile, more than 30,000 public school teachers have also walked out of classrooms demanding better pay, smaller classrooms and more educators in Los Angeles in the United States. The strike is the largest in 30 years and is affecting over 50,000 students in the country's second largest school district. The Los Angeles school system educates nearly 640,000 students in all. On Monday, hundreds of students chose to remain at home in support of the strike. Earlier negotiations between teachers' unions and the district administration had broken down. It is being predicted that the strike may last for days or even weeks.
So here we are on a rainy day in the richest country in the world, in the richest state in the country, in a state as blue as it can be, and in a city rife with millionaires, where teachers have to go on strike to get the basics for our students.